Hey folks, this is Bearded Appliance Repair, and this is where we help you fix it. I got a Samsung washer, front load washer today. Customer complaint is it's getting the OE air code, and the OE air code is an overflow air. And essentially all that means is this washer senses that there's too much water entering the machine. Could be a problem with the pressure switch, could be a water valve issue. More commonly, it is a water valve issue, and that's what we're covering in this video here, is a water valve that sticks open. And yeah, we're pretty much just going to get into it and show you guys how to test it. On this, I have started it on a regular wash on warm water, because you never know if it's going to be the hot valve or the water valve. So I'm waiting for this water to start running, and once it does, I'm pretty much just going to unplug it. I'm going to take the power cord out from the wall, cut power to the whole machine, and if water keeps on coming in, we know it's the water valve. We just got to find out if it's the hot or the cold or whatever. So whenever you do this, start a load with warm water so we can figure out which one it is. So that's pretty much what we're waiting on here. We're waiting on this to start filling. There's 3 different valves that I know of on these Samsung washers. That is the double valve, which is what this one has. There's a triple valve, and there's a valve that has 4 solenoids on it. Right now you can hear this washer is filling up with water. I unplug it, and the water's still going. I'm going to show you how to get this top off here in a little bit. But another way, if you don't want to unplug it, or if you can't reach it, some people got these washers where you can't get to the plugs very well. You can cut the breaker off to it, and here's a visual of the water actually coming down the glass. And that's how you can tell that this thing's still filling up water. You can hear it, you can see it, and as long as there's no power on this machine and water still coming through, it's going to be that water valve. You can put your hand on which side it is, whether it's the hot or the cold. You can feel where the water's coming through, and the only way most people can stop it is by turning the water off, which is what I was doing right there. But the problem on this one is going to be this valve. I'm going to show you guys how to get to it. First thing we got to do is pop off the top, which I'm going to show you here in a few. Alright, on these machines there's just 2 screws on the back end. One goes there, and it's either I think it's a 9/16 or a Phillips head. I use a Phillips head to get these off. That's what I have in my bag. It's one of the more common things that I use on a day-to-day basis, so that's why I use it. So I got this nice little angled tool here, so I don't have to move this washer out of the way. But we get these 2 screws out on the left and the right hand side, then we pretty much just push the top from the front to the back. And sometimes they're a big old pain to get off. Sometimes you gotta give it a good shove so that thing will go back, but once it goes back, it'll come free and you can get that off. And now we're getting ready to get this valve off here. Got a good zoom in there for you. For getting these valves off, there is these clips or hose clamps. They're usually in that position. I've already had them off because I was looking at it, and then I was like, hey, this would be a good video to put on my YouTube channel for all you guys out there. This is a common problem on these Samsung washers. But once you get those clips or hose clamps off, you want to get yourself a little towel, put it underneath it, and you'll be able to pull these hoses off, because there's water in them, and that towel there is just to catch that water that comes out. You see it right there on both ends. We got that off. And then whenever you change out this valve, we already cut the water off. If you guys are having the same issue, I'm sure your guys' water's probably already off too. But once we get that off, we got to get the hose off the other end of this valve here. And there's also 2 Phillips head screws holding it on. You're not going to see me take them out, but I'm showing them to you here right now. There's 2 Phillips head screws, and then that hose. You want to get those off. And I'm going to get that off now. And while I'm getting that off, another thing you guys can try, because say you have a triple valve or a quadruple valve, those extra valves are for, the extra bells and whistles like fabric softener or other stuff like that. So if you got, bleach dispenser and a fabric softener, you may have a triple valve. If you have a quadruple valve, there's, that water's going to different places. Like one of those valves goes straight into the tub, and then the other valve goes to the dispenser where you put your detergent in. So if you got multiple valves, if it's a triple or a quadruple, you want to try that test we did before on rinse and spin. So it runs the wrench valve, which puts in the fabric softener in the rinse area. You'll want to do that. You'll want to run the rinse and spin so that valve is running. Because if you do it like I did here, where I started at the beginning, and it's only running that valve into the tub, and those other ones don't run, you might think your valve's okay. And you'll think, okay, that's, not my issue. Oh yeah, we'll get back to changing this valve. I have some more tips for you here in a bit. You saw me get that valve out. And then, you got those 2 screws holding it. You take those out, valve's out. Now we're going to put the new one on. It's nothing to it, guys. All you need is a Phillips head screwdriver and some pliers, really, to do this job. That, and then actually figuring out the issue, which is what you guys are probably here for. Okay, back to the triple valve and the quadruple valve. Running rinse and spin only runs certain valves, and then running at the beginning of the cycle runs certain valves as well. So it may be the rinse solenoid that's actually your issue, so you'll have to try different things. Like if you try it on rinse and spin and it works, but then you run it on the regular and then it doesn't, then okay, you got to try different things to actually figure this out. So I just want to let you guys know that running it on rinse and spin is something you may have to do, or running it on warm water like I was mentioning earlier. If you run it on warm, you'll know it's your hot and your cold valves that are supposed to be running. And if you only run in cold and the issues with your hot water, you just want to cross your T's and dot your I's, make sure you're checking all these valves before you go and order a pressure switch for it. Because out of all the times I've seen this, you probably 1 out of 100 times I've probably replaced a pressure switch. Very rare that those go out. But anyways, we got that valve back in. I think you guys just seeing it, that'll be sufficient. But putting these hoses back on, I like to go backwards and letting this valve actually seat inside, because whenever you put these hoses on, it is very easy to cross thread them, and you don't want to cross thread them because that's just going to be a headache for you whenever you actually get the valve, or you actually got it hooked up and then you just, oh crap, it's a leak. You found out you've cross threaded it. Now it's going to be a headache just to get that thing on right, because if it's cross threaded, that's just going to want to keep cross threading. Whenever you put that hose on, you're just going to have a leak, and it's just an issue. So I like to go backwards, let it fall into place, and then turn it on. I tried showing you guys that. I just couldn't do it with one hand. I had to do it with two hands. And yeah, just be careful not to cross thread it. You don't want to cause yourself a headache. But we got hose back on. We're gonna plug it back in. We're gonna get the water on, and we're gonna give this thing another good test. And it does take some time, you know, for that water to start coming in, because these washers, they're smart nowadays. They sense how much clothes you actually have in it, so it'll put the appropriate amount of water in it. And a lot of people hate that feature, but it really can, you know, save water and everything. These front loads are pretty good. A lot of people don't like working on them. They are a little bit more maintenance wise, you know, you got to clean that door seal and a bunch of stuff. But I actually have a front load LG in my house, and the only things I replace on those: drain pumps, water valves. That's it. These are some pretty good washers in my opinion. Other than that, I'd get a Speed Queen or the cheapest one you can find. But anyways, I'll get off that little soapbox there. For testing it, I mean, it's pretty much the way you found out the issue. You pretty much start the unit, let it run, and once it starts filling up with water, you unplug it, and if it stops, you know your valve's good. 'Cause that's what happens with these valves, guys. If you take power away from them, your water valves should close and stop the water coming through. The only time they put water in it is when power is applied to that solenoid, pulls it open, and then once power is unapplied to it, that's when it shuts. But I'm actually fast forwarding it here so we don't have to wait for that water to start filling. But once we get to it, you'll see it's coming up here soon. Water will start coming in. I'll unplug it, and the water will stop. And then that's pretty much it for this. Not much to it. It's one of the easier repairs on these. It's something anybody can do. I mean, as long as you know, have... Oh, here we go. There we go. Water stop. Gonna show you here. That's what it's supposed to do. When you unplug it, it is supposed to stop. If it doesn't, you got a bad valve. Whether it's your hot, whether it's your cold. I will have these parts linked in the description below. I'll have the double valve, the triple valve, and the quadruple valve. So whichever one you guys need. And if this video has helped you out, I mean, if you pick those up off those links, I do get a little bit of commission off of it. It's not much, but it does help support the channel. So, I mean, once you get that valve replaced, you get that top panel back on, everything's good to go, nothing's leaking. That is pretty much it. So, I'm gonna let you guys just watch the rest of this, just putting it on. And yeah, hope this helps. Give me a like, subscribe. I appreciate y'all watching.